Hello everyone. I'm going to be talking about a few decks today. First of all, I wanted to talk about the Fallen Angels Oracle deck. So it looks like this, and I believe it's by Nigel Suckling, if I remember right. Anyhow, if you go online and you just type in the Fallen Angels Oracle, you'll find this deck, and I've done a review of this deck, and I'll just show you some of the artwork while I talk. I really love this book. I especially love the guidebook to this book. I love this deck, and I especially love the guidebook that accompanies the deck as well. I think it gives you a lot of information in a very concise format. The imagery in these cards is really beautiful, and it's one that I have enjoyed working with in the past and had a great love and affection for. However, this autumn season, this Mabon, because we are honoring that Sabbath today, the autumn equinox, I am really feeling especially close to this deck. I have been working a lot with it on my own, and I did a day of tarot readings in northern New Hampshire yesterday, and I really had very powerful readings with this deck for clients. And I even used this deck alone without any tarot cards accompanying, and I typically, I love oracle decks, but when I do readings for clients, I typically will use oracle as a clarifier or an accompaniment to tarot. Only very occasionally will I just use oracle decks for a reading, and I did actually use just this deck, and I had some very powerful readings with it. And I also had very powerful readings using this deck with tarot. So I am just really having a very passionate love affair with this deck this fall. Really spending a lot of time with it and getting very clear answers. I don't know if all of you are participating in the Four Queens Self-Love September, but I have found that this practice of Self-Love September, really stepping into that and journaling a lot through that process, has been very healing for me. I love to journal, and especially before becoming a mom, I journaled daily, often quite long passages, and it was a way that I processed a lot for myself. But since becoming a mom, I've found it difficult to allow myself the time to really get into journaling, and so stepping into Self-Love September and really allowing myself to get back into journaling, even if it is in the middle of the night that I'm doing it, has been very powerful and very healing. And the deck that I've been using for Self-Love September is the Fallen Angels Oracle deck, and I've just had very clear, concise, accurate readings for myself, for others with this deck. But there's also just an energy that the Fallen Angels Oracle has, which is very unique. It's a deck that's not like any other Oracle deck that you'll come across. And so I found it to be very empowering and releasing working with this deck. So while I'm recording this video, it is the Sabbath of Mabon here in New England, and it's also the Dark Moon. So this is a deck that's really a great deck to work with in the Dark Moon. The demons that are presented in this deck, who, really are just as valuable for us as angels, their messages are very clear with this deck, and I'm really enjoying working with the energies themselves in each card. Like I said, I'm really having a love affair with this deck, so I just wanted to talk about that, because if you have the Fallen Angels Oracle, or this deck interests you, this is a great time of year to actually purchase the deck, but it's also a great time of year to pull that deck out and get reacquainted with it and really spend some serious time with it. It's just, like I said, it's a totally unique Oracle deck, and I am just falling in love with this deck all over again and really having very powerful, moving readings with it. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, this is another reveal. I know I have the Alice reveal that I just recorded as well, but I really wanted to talk about this deck, and this is the Wooden Tarot deck. Now, I stumbled across this deck on Etsy. I was looking at tarot readings, and for some, I had purchased a reading, done the checkout thing, and this popped up as an interest that I might find. And now I have heard nothing about the wooden tarot, and apparently this has been quite an underground deck. And she had originally created it as just the major arcana, and then she received enough funding. I can't remember the site, but you know how you can self-fund projects, and people who are great admirers of your work can participate and give money to help create something that they actually really want to see and be a part of. And I am a huge fan of that, and I absolutely love it. Anyhow, apparently she had done that and gotten enough funding to actually self-publish the complete wooden tarot deck. So it popped up, and it was, I think her website is skullgarden.net, and I'll put a link in the description box below so that you can actually go to the site. But I just got the deck earlier in the week, and again, it's self-published. The price was incredible. It was only $30 plus $5 shipping for a self-published deck like this. And this is the type of deck that, again, you don't see this deck every day. So I was so excited to purchase it. I love that. And it came super quickly. Like the day that I purchased it, she mailed it out to me pretty much. It was like that. I ordered it at night, and it was like by the next morning when I checked my email, she had already mailed it out. And I am in love with this deck. And like I said, I just got it last week, so this is not a review. It's just a reveal, but here's the backings. So all of her images are done on wood, so you can see that the representation is with the wood backing, and the images themselves are of animals. So this is really, again, a unique deck. It's not one that you see all the time. And one downside to this is that there's not even a little white book. It's just the deck itself. So if you're new, you're going to need to purchase, if you're new to tarot, you're going to need to purchase a Intro to Tarot book, which I would recommend, Tarot 101 by Kim Huggins. And I went on her website, and I can't seem to find like a about or more information on just her process in actually creating the symbolism in the cards with the different animals. But it's fine. It doesn't matter. I really honestly don't mind. I just love this deck so much, and it's so unique. And again, for autumn, it's such a perfect deck. So it's a really, really mystical deck. And she says that with her symbolism and her paintings, all of them are based on animals and that type of mythological energy, but there's also this feeling of this mystic, esoteric type of symbolism that's included as well in small ways. So this deck is just, it is so beautiful, and again, it's so unique. It's self-published, so you're actually supporting the artist through your purchase. Shipping was incredibly fast, wonderfully inexpensive. And I will be doing a full review of this deck once I spend some time with it, but I am just, and I believe she ships internationally as well, so I am just absolutely smitten. Now for her, so here's the Ace of Bones, or the God of Bones, which I love. Each of her suits she has, and I really love this, blooms, bones, let's see, plumes, and stones. Now my best understanding just from the beginning work that I'm doing with this deck, because again there's no book to let you know, the blooms seem to be cups to me. I think I felt that the bones were earth, and here's like then there's court cards as well, so you get that, there's some bones. The plumes were air, to the best of my limited time working with it. Again, that feels like Three of Swords to me, the Three of Plumes, so I felt that that was air. And then the stones appear to be wands to me, like that's what I would consider to be the wands. Let me just show you, like here's 10 of stones. So I believe that's how I'm choosing to look at my correlation to the suit cards with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith system. So all in all, I was just like, I just happened to stumble across this. I'm so happy I did. It was obviously meant to. There's a happy squirrel card too, guys. This deck is absolutely gorgeous. It's completely worth the investment. The cardstock is a little thin, but that's okay. And if you are on a very strict budget, but you would still like to purchase this, she does have some that have some slight what's the word? Why is it so hard for me to think of words these days? Oh my goodness. Some slight like imperfections in the printing process that she has at an even more discounted rate. So, you know, whatever your budget is, you can work this deck into purchasing it if it interests you. And again, her website was skullgarden.net, I believe, but I'm going to put the link to her Etsy shop below so that you can, and it will be just take you right to the deck. Now it says that it's still in production, at least it did for me when I looked at the actual, like when I went to put it in my shopping cart on Etsy, but it's not. It ships immediately, it's all set and ready to go, so don't let that stop you, because I waited, and then I started reading the reviews and I saw that as of September it was available and she was shipping it out. So you're good to go if you are interested in purchasing the Wooden Tarot, but this is a truly unique deck. I am so excited to work with it and to get to know it better. And you know that I'll be doing a full review once I spend some time with it. Just really unique artwork, a unique perspective, and a new way to engage the senses and your intuitive abilities, because it's not straight up a clone of Rider-Waite-Smith. It's its own deck as well. So really, really exciting with that. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about today, because I do get a lot of questions, and I love getting questions from y'all. Thank you so much for sending them to me. But I wanted to talk a little bit about stepping into reading as a professional, in quotations, however we would say that, and how to know when it's the right time to do that, just because I do get asked that a lot. And I did just do a day of readings up north yesterday, so this was kind of on my mind when I was driving home. I was thinking about, that I kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit more again, because it seems like it's coming up for a lot of people who are starting to work with their cards. So the first thing that I want to say is the best way to expand and explore yourself as a reader is to actually read for people. So that is definitely a part of the process of stepping into reading professionally. That being said, I don't encourage my tarot students to immediately start charging for their readings. What I encourage my students to do is to spend a good amount of time, and a large chunk of time, actually, first of all, doing their research, getting to know their cards, and reading and doing readings and spreads for themselves. And really getting comfortable with the card system of tarot or an oracle deck if they're choosing to read with oracle decks, or the marriage of both if you want to marry both into your practice. And after that, once you have an understanding of the cards and what they mean for yourself, then I really encourage my students to start reading for friends and family members. And this can be an ongoing process, and you can begin that while you're still getting comfortable with the cards. But reading for people is a great way of, it's kind of like you still have that security blanket, because they're still going to love you even if the reading sucks. And it's a way to kind of like dip your toes in the water and get comfortable with reading. So I would really encourage you, first of all, to start reading for people that you know, friends, family members, just for fun, with no pressure. None of the pressure of, I'm a reader and you are coming to me for a reading. But just to allow yourself to dip your toes in the water and start getting comfortable with that. And while you are enjoying that, I would still encourage you to be working with tarot and deepening your practice with the cards through meditation, through journal work, through path working with the cards, through study of history with tarot, And really, again, developing your own way of working with and understanding. The wind is like blowing like crazy today, and I just can't keep the window closed, guys. I'm sorry. It's so beautiful. It's like one of those fall days we just dream about. But I would encourage you to still spend your time deepening your own personal tarot practice while you are starting to read for friends and family. And then after that, I would step into offering free readings for a limited amount of people, or offering readings based on a barter system. So this means that you're going to be reading for people that you don't know. Now, a lot of readers out there have found that offering a free 5-minute or a 3-card draw reading on Facebook or Instagram or whatever works very well for them, and this is definitely an option to explore. I didn't start by doing that, though, and I am someone who actually really loves readings in person, and that's the majority, the large extent of my healing practice is offering sessions and readings in person. So I would encourage you, even if you are stepping into that on Facebook, offer some readings for people you don't know. Short, quick, fast, 5-minute readings, 10-minute readings for people that you don't know. Now you can choose how you want to network that in-person aspect, whether it's friends of friends or friends of family members, or maybe you speak to a shop in town or a cafe in town and you set up a little table for an hour, and for that hour people can come and they can get a free 5-minute or a free 10-minute reading with you. This is a great way to expand because you don't know the person, so you really are stepping into your intuitive abilities and your knowledge and wisdom and relationship with the tarot cards in working with people that you don't know. So there's no background for you to draw a story from. This is really just reading the energy and using the cards. And this can be very helpful. And for the querent, if they're not going to hate the reading because it was free, it didn't cost them anything. But if they don't like the reading, they haven't paid anything, and they, it's going to be like just water rolls off their back. They move on. They don't have to remember the reading. And you offered a free reading, so it's okay if it wasn't the way that you wanted it to be. So this is a great practice to step into. But as well as offering readings online, if you want to offer readings in person, I really encourage you to offer some free or barter-based readings with people as well. This is very empowering for you as a reader because it lets you know when you're right on because you don't know the person. And it's also a really great way to see how your tarot deck and you work with other people's energies besides people that you're comfortable with. So I do encourage you to actually do in-person readings with people that you don't know as you are getting comfortable with reading for others. Even if you're not going to be offering, if you're just going to have an Etsy shop and you're not going to be offering in-person readings, I still think it's important to have that physical face-to-face experience with clients. It helps to bring an empathy to your practice as a healer and a reader, and it helps you to understand energy and how to read the energy when you are with a person and when you're not with a person, and what works best for you. And that's unique for each of us, and so it is something that I think it's important to experience before you really set off on your professional reading practice. The wonderful thing about bartering is that if you have other like-minded friends, or friends who know people who are, Reiki practitioners, or who have a beautiful spiritual knowledge of some sort or some type of healing practice, is that you can barter session for session, which is really beautiful as well. Now, the great thing about this is if you are bartering for an hour-long Reiki session, you're probably going to be giving an hour-long tarot reading. This is great. Or maybe you're going to offer 2 half-hour tarot readings for one hour Reiki session for yourself. This is just an example. The beauty of this is that this is when you can start to get more of an in-depth reading. So now you're not just offering a 10-minute reading or a 5-minute reading or a quick 3-card draw. This is when you can really start to peel back the layers and get to the emotional energy at the core, at the base of what the person is coming to you as and has a question about, or information that they would like to receive. This is when we can dive down below the surface and get to what's really underneath there, and perhaps what the client or querent is afraid to look at. So this is very empowering, and again, the more that you start interacting with this and offering these types of sessions, you can see if you're the type of reader that wants to offer this type of a service, this type of a session for others. Do you want to go in depth? Do you want to do a long focused reading where it really is about trust between you and the querent, because you're peeling back layers together. So this is a great way to experience bartering for sessions, and also if a longer, more in-depth session is something that you want to offer for others. It's very powerful and a great experience. And even if you're bartering reading for reading with another reader, this is very powerful. And that is a great way to see how other people read, which is one of my favorite ways to explore myself as a reader, is experiencing a reading from someone else. First of all, I'm giving myself a gift that I extend to others. And so that helps me to understand the purpose and the power of receiving a reading and coming to someone for a reading. But it also encourages me to step outside of my own box as a reader and see what works for other people. And do I want to explore that in my own way, so that I'm not copying another reader, but do I want to bring in this other element that maybe they're bringing in that I've found to be extremely helpful for me as a querent coming to them. So this is a really great way to explore how other people read, and seeing what you want to continue to bring into your own practice as a reader and a healer yourself. So this is very powerful and empowering to do this barter system. And this process takes time, so you don't decide you're going to learn tarot and then start offering a professional reading session a month after you start to read tarot. This is a process, and that's the beautiful thing about tarot. This is a lifelong journey. So you spend that time yourself really getting to know the cards and getting to know your own journey with tarot and your own associations with each card. Then you start offering readings for families and friends, for family members and friends. Then you can start offering free readings for people that you don't know, and barter readings with other readers or other healers. And that's when you can decide for yourself when it's time to step into a practice of your own. And this is really beautiful because you can decide, do I want to continue to just offer barter readings, or do I want there to be a monetary exchange for the readings that I'm going to offer? And I think it's really best to step into this when you have a clearer understanding of yourself as a reader and what it is that you it's so beautiful outside, that you as a reader have set as your intention for your healing practice. And it doesn't mean that that intention can't change, but it is good to have an idea and a level of understanding of who you are as a reader, and an understanding of how you work with the cards as a reader. And then you can choose to step into continuing to offer barter, or choosing to have a monetary exchange for a reading. And the beautiful thing about the monetary exchange that I think it's really important to understand, and that I always share with my students, is that all that they are paying for, whether you're offering Reiki or tarot reading or a psychic reading or a reading involving mediumship or soul retrieval or past life retrieval, all that they are paying for is your time. The energy work itself, the intuitive work itself, is not what they are paying for. It is the value that you place on your time as a person to be completely present, to hold space for another individual, to step out of your sphere and be a clear conduit for energy and for however you choose to look at spirit or the divine. So it is very important to have a clear understanding of that as a reader, that that's what that time is about. That's what they're paying for, not the actual intuitive work itself. And that helps you to get out of an ego space with it, and it helps your client to understand that it's not as if you are placing any type of finite value on energy work itself. So it really keeps things in perspective and balance as a reader, and I think that's an important key to when you step into reading professionally. And the beautiful thing is that as a reader, you can choose if you want there to be a monetary or a barter exchange for your work. I think if you are going to step into reading quite a bit, though, there does need to be some type of exchange, because burnout happens very quickly, and you can find yourself stepping into a space where you're giving your services begrudgingly and you really feel like people are taking from you because there is no exchange. You're just giving and there's no receiving. And this is a type of martyrdom. And it is something that it's important to look at, because if you are going to start to feel a burnout, you don't want to be offering sessions or holding space for people when you can't really be a clear conduit to do that. And this is something that all of us as healers who walk this path discover for ourselves in our own way. There has to be a receiving as well as a giving, even for the person who's stepping into the role of shaman or healer. There has to be a give and a take there, and it's beneficial. That's how we create balance. So it is important to look at that as well. So I hope if you are considering stepping into reading professionally, that you find that these tips helpful, that I've found for myself over the years to be true. And I know I've talked about this before, but I just want to share it again because people have been asking me lately about this, about how to know when it's time. You'll know intuitively, internally, when it's time to start really choosing to have a barter or a monetary exchange for your time in your work as a reader, or a reader/healer, reader or healer, however you choose to look at that. You'll know when it's time. I knew when it was time, very intuitively, that it was time for me to start having a monetary exchange. And it's also beneficial to have spent that time discovering who you are as a reader. Now, the beauty of stepping into reading professionally is that you're never really a professional. Every day, every step of the way on the path as a reader, you are growing and evolving, and your style is changing in a really beautiful way. That's very powerful and very moving for yourself as the healer, and for the person who's coming to have a reading, who's looking for understanding, love, and tools to take away from a session. So this is very exciting because the beauty of working as a healer and working with very powerful spiritual tools who carry an energy. And I will get into that in another video because I really want to talk about this. But I'm not going to digress and go off. I'm already about half an hour into this video. The beautiful thing about this energy is, and working with this type of tool as a healer, is that there are no limits. You don't ever get to a space where you are now, you know all, and therefore you can charge $300 an hour, and you have climbed the stairway to success and you are now there. It's just not like that. It's not a corporate experience. It can't be, because you're working with energy. And so there is no... The beauty of it is that ego has to step out of it, and it has to just be about the experience. And that's where it's an infinite growth. It's an infinite joy. It's an infinite bliss that you experience when you step into that space. There's nothing like it. And it's a realm that you step into that is so beautiful, and that continues giving for both the reader and the querent that's coming to have a reading. So there is at no time do I ever feel like I am now a professional. But we do ask that question a lot when we first start on our journey with tarot. When can I become a professional reader? When am I professional? When have I learned enough to know enough to offer readings for others? And so really it's about intuitively understanding and allowing yourself to immerse yourself in the journey of tarot, in the circle of tarot, and understanding the symbolism and the archetypes that are in tarot. This is a very empowering process, and so that's why we never reach the top. There is no limit. There's no ceiling to the experience with tarot. It's infinite. It is the shape of infinity, and we are always dancing with these cards. We are always dancing with these energies, and we will always find a new layer and a new depth of meaning to these cards. We're never done. We've never known all that there is to know with these cards, and that's the beauty of reading for other people and reading for yourself as well. On that note, be looking for a series from me for people who just want to read for themselves and who are just reading for themselves and not reading for others. I've had a large number of requests recently for videos really addressing people who are just reading for themselves. How can they continue and build and carry on a practice that is meaningful spiritually for themselves with the cards? So I really do want to dive into that, because that's very important. And it's a very intrinsic part of the spiritual path for me, is reading for myself. So I'm excited to talk about that. So be looking for that.